There are so many myths out there, it's quite hard to pick the key ones. But I think the one people talk about most is the importance of calories. It still surprises people when I say you can lose weight quite easily without thinking about calories. And it's much more about the quality of food. And there are plenty of studies showing that calorie-controlled diets don't work for the vast majority of people. And by inference, that also means that low-calorie products are no better than normal calorie products. That's because to make them no-calorie, they've had to make them even more processed. So they're not actually helping the situation. Crash diets are really effective if you want to lose weight fast, but they are totally useless if you want to keep your weight off longer term. In terms of 3 to 6 months ahead, they're going to be pretty useless. By that time, you'll be crept back to where you were, and after a year, you might be actually above the weight you started at. So crash diets mean non-sustainable diets, which often mean an imbalance to your system. You might be worse off than when you started. There is some evidence that crash diets are actually bad for some people. We did some studies where one pair of identical twins, one of the pair was quite a keen dieter, and when she felt a bit overweight, she'd say, okay, I'll go on a diet for 3 months and try and shed it. The other one was much more relaxed, didn't worry about her weight. When we looked at a group of these after 20 years, the one that had been on those crash diets, what we call yo-yo dieting, ended up nearly always a greater weight than her sister, who hadn't really bothered counting calories and trying to do this short-term weight loss. So you can end up worse off than when you started. And people have got to realize that there's no point in doing something like this unless you can sustain it long term. And the more severe, in a way, the initial shock to the system, the more the body responds. And so you have to work out a way that's much more subtle to slowly bring your body back into a new balance that doesn't trigger all those signals of hunger and change in metabolism. Vitamins and supplements are another big myth. At least 50% of the population take them regularly, give them to their kids, and there's absolutely no evidence that 99% of them actually work or do anything other than reduce the weight of your wallet. This has been around for a long time, and the whole of nutrition was based around supplementation when we were suffering from deficiency diseases, protein deficiency, scurvy, vitamin C deficiency, etc. There's no evidence that taking large amounts of something we only need tiny amounts of, and that's in fact the definition of a vitamin, is something that we need just trace amounts of to perform an essential action in our body. Having mega doses of it, there's no evidence at all that that is a good policy to follow. There's no trial evidence. Most of the controlled trials show these things don't work. When you look at the most popular vitamins and supplements like omega-3s, fat oils, the biggest studies, meta-analysis show for the vast majority of people no benefit at all. There's a small subgroup of people that might have very poor diets, just following a heart attack might benefit, but the vast majority of people get no benefit at all. Others are vitamin D, which I used to practice osteoporosis for 30 years. I was giving out vitamin D to all my patients, believing it worked. Big studies, hundreds of thousands of people show makes no difference to bone fractures or health. In some cases, it can actually be harmful. So you can actually overdose on some of these vitamins. So in general, there are a few exceptions, and there are people who have genuine deficiencies that have been shown to be really low because for some reason, or they have some dietary problems, they can't eat properly. Those people need the vast majority of the population are wasting their money on these products. And for me, the biggest problem with supplements is not whether they work or not, but it's distracting people from trying to get the most out of real food, which contains all of these ingredients in spades in exactly the right way that our nature and our evolution has intended that we eat them. There's some great examples here that most people think we need calcium. And we can get calcium from all kinds of sources. We get it from green leaf plants. We can get it even from some Italian mineral waters. We can get it from dairy products. If you take it as a tablet, it's a big chunk of calcium you have in one go. It could be 1 gram of calcium. You swallow it and it gets dispersed in your body. But your body can't deal with that massive calcium in one go. It goes into your blood vessels, makes them stiffer, and studies show that you're more likely to have heart problems if you take calcium replacements. And the reason you were taking them was probably to protect your bones and has no benefit whatsoever on your bones. So there are plenty of examples where people, for all the best reasons, are taking some of these products, and not only is it not helping them, they're spending good money they could be spending on real food, but in some cases they're actually harmful. So rather than people thinking about supplements, think about real food. Everything we need, every little mineral, nutrient is actually there in the food all around us. All we have to do is eat a large variety of it. We'll get all those nutrients, all those vitamins, all those minerals that we need. And I think that's a really important message, that the more diversity you put into your diet, the more your food and your body will take care of themselves. You don't need artificial means to help you. There's another myth that exercise is a fantastic way to lose your weight. You see all kinds of gyms and exercise programs being promoted in January when people are feeling at their fullest. They've overindulged over the Christmas period. They haven't exercised much and they feel, I feel guilty, I've got to do something. All I need to do is pay an expensive gym subscription and I'll be happy and healthy and lose weight. People are told that exercise equals losing weight. And actually, that is not true. There are many, many studies now showing that exercise doesn't, on average, help you lose weight. There are some people that lose weight on exercise, but as many people that lose weight actually gain weight when they exercise for similar reasons to the idea of restricting calories. Your body reacts the same way. It reduces its metabolic rate, slows right down, and increases hunger. My mum always used to say, go for a walk before Sunday lunch to work up an appetite. You know, everyone knows that exercise makes you hungrier, and it's your body's way of trying to compensate for losing energy so that you can regain it, you can repair those tissues, you can move on. And this is a classic myth that exercise is a good way to lose weight. Now, there is a small caveat, well, it's actually a very big caveat, I should say, is that exercise is incredibly good for you, and lots of data showing it's good for your mental health, it's good in preventing dementia, it's good for your heart, it's been shown to be quite preventive for many cancers, but it is not good for pure weight loss. So don't rely on it. Do it, but don't do it for that reason. And the second caveat is that there's some evidence, it's not really that great, but some evidence that having lost some weight, having followed great advice about changing your diet for a higher quality diet, you manage to shed a few kilos slowly, that exercise can delay putting it back on. So it can keep you at that level much better than people who don't exercise. So there are a couple of good reasons to still exercise, but don't believe the myth that exercise alone can do anything for your weight. So a lot of these myths are propagated by the industry that's trying to sell you the solution. The diet industry is there to keep us dieting, switching from one failed diet to another in an endless quest for the perfect diet that they think is achievable, is always just outside your reach. And they do this very well and present these before and after pictures of these amazing people that have changed their life by just taking this amazing slimming drink or gone on this program. For most people, they inevitably will fail, and they're their business model is really for people to keep failing and keep coming back. And if you look at the statistics, people really only spend a few months on these programs before cancelling or going to try a new one. I think we should be as skeptical of the diet industry as we are of the food industry. I think the two have the same motives. They're often overlapping investors, and they are very keen to keep us overweight and buying bad foods. It suits both of them. I think people should be thinking much more long-term about their health and their bodies. I think they should be looking, how do I want to feel in 10 years' time? What do I want to be doing in 20 years' time? Do I still want to be doing sports, playing tennis, playing golf, doing my gardening? How do I stay healthy and fit in that time? Maybe I want to look after my grandkids. Maybe I want to play with them. I think we take much too short-term a view of our diets with what's sort of happening right now, and what I'm going to look like if I have to take my shirt off on the beach. These are trivial points, and we need to be thinking much more about the inside of our bodies and thinking inside outwards rather than just shedding a few outside pounds. Thinking more about the inside of us. There's lots of good epidemiology studies to show that it's actually the internal fat is more important than the external fat. And much of the internal fat you can't see. So there are actually some people on the outside who are thin, and on the inside are actually overweight. They have more visceral fat than average. And there's a term for these people, they're called toffees. Thin on the outside, fat on the inside. And this is a well-known phenomenon and seems to happen increasingly. And these people have metabolic problems that you wouldn't look at outside. So many people you might pass in the street, say, that person looks quite healthy. But if they've got a poor diet, for some reason they're not putting on the weight on outside of their body, but they are on the inside, around their intestines, around their liver. And this fat is really very active. And so it causes all kinds of problems for the body. So appearances can be deceptive, and I think that's the main lesson here, is that trying to heal yourself within, think long-term, not short-term, have a long-term strategy, something that is sustainable, and think what you want to be able to do in 10 years or 20 years' time. I think that's a really motivating factor. So what I'd like you to do is to think of food rather differently than maybe you did last year. I want you to look at it in terms of, is it real food? Does it have a skin on it? Does it have fiber in it? Does it have nutrients that are going to help my gut microbes? Does it have healthy polyphenol chemicals because it's got bright colors or bitter tastes or something interesting about it that's going to nourish your inner gut? And trying to think more long term. What are you putting into your mouth every week, every month, every year? Overall, is that healthy way to sustain your own internal microbial garden?